All right. So, excuse me. You are Ashley Hines, DOC 607869. You're classified as a second felony offender. You're currently serving a 25-year sentence for a conviction vehicular homicide. You were sentenced in January of 2017. Your parole eligibility date is January 6, 2022. You have an adjusted good time date, July 12th, 2023, with your full term date, October 7, 2040. Does that all sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when I review your record, I noticed I'm looking at your transfers around the DOC, and I see you were at Cedarwood Manor in July of 2019, and then you moved to Calcasieu. And the note says disciplinary. Did you get a write-up when you were at Cedarwood?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that for?
It was for getting into it with a supervisor.
A fight?
No,
okay.
not a fight.
Okay.
We just had words exchanged. My supervisor was another offender with Cedarwood. So that's what happened there.
Okay. And then I see another notation of disciplinary action in January of 2020, when you were moved from Calcasieu to LTCW.
Oh, LCIW, that's when I went to court from that report.
So that's when you went to DB court. What happened with that report in DB court?
I think they gave me 3 days self-confinement, suspended, and put me on probation for 30 days.
Okay. Any write-up since then?
I think that. No, ma'am.
Okay. So when I look at the information that was provided to us concerning the crime and your criminal history, you've had quite a few arrests. You have a history of operating a vehicle under the influence. I mean, you had quite a few arrests. I know I counted at least 15. I see that many of them were non-pros. And when this incident happened, the record indicates that you said you were on the way to rehab when it happened. What kind of rehab?
Rayville recovery in Rayville.
And so, but that you had taken a bunch of pills before you were. So tell me why.
At that time in my life, I was lost. I was depressed. So much was going on at once, and I didn't use my better judgment to drive a vehicle.
So what you did, so why all the pills? Because there was quite a combination of pills.
I'm an addict.
What were you taking that for? Okay.
Anxiety.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, I'm concerned when I look at the history of driving. You say that's well, look what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Franklin Jacobs.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could speak to his family, which you can't, what would you say?
That I'm very remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean for it to happen.
So what have you done to ensure that's not going to happen again?
I've taken every opportunity I've been offered since I've been incarcerated. I have a 16-year-old daughter. I want to do better for myself and for her, because she deserves it.
Tell us about the programs.
I've been in many programs.
So tell us which one you think has helped you the most.
Celebrate
And
recovery.
why?
Celebrate
And why?
recovery.
Why is that?
It makes you look way down deep into your life and what you've done to others. And it helps you learn how to take accountability for what you've done. And it also gets to the root of why I used pills.
So, had you ever, other than the rehab you say you were on your way to at the time of this accident, have you ever had any substance abuse treatment on the street?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what makes this Celebrate Recovery different from those times?
Well, I've never done it before, and the steps with AA, that really helps me, having a sponsor.
And you've never done AA before?
Yes, I have, but I didn't take it serious.
Mm-hmm. So when you released or completed whatever the rehab programs that you did do on the street, did they give you a plan on how to be successful, and did you follow it? Like an aftercare plan?
Yes. Oh, no aftercare.
Which could be, I mean, by aftercare, I mean, what steps did you need to take to stay clean and sober? Not necessarily another treatment program.
Well, first and foremost, not being around people who took the medicine or places that would make me want to use.
People, places, and things.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. So, was it just the pills, or did you drink also?
Every now and then I drink, but it was never a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been.
So, as you can imagine, there's quite a lot of opposition to an early release for you.
Yes, ma'am.
From the DA's office, from the sheriff's office in Caddo, from the Shreveport police chief, and from the victim's family.
Yes, ma'am.
You just need to be aware of that. I don't have any other questions. I'll sit back and listen to my colleagues. Mr. Roche, any questions?
Yes, Mr. Nelson. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ashley. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking. I hate to go back over your disciplinary, but have you ever been housed at Louisiana Transition Center for Women?
Is that the same thing as Cedarwood?
No.
No.
On January 7th, 2020, at Louisiana Transition Center for Women, which I think is in North Louisiana, you had a disciplinary write-up.
What?
I think she explained earlier, Mr. Roche, she was sent to that facility to go to DB court.
Oh, okay.
From the write-up that she got in Calcasieu.
Okay, okay. So that's the same one. Okay. And what did you say about the one that you received at Louisiana Correctional Institute for Women? Is that the one with the supervisor?
Yes, sir.
And what was the nature of that argument?
Basically, it was with a fellow offender, and the way they were running stuff at the hotel was I wasn't up for participating.
Okay.
They were.
So it was aggravated work offense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hines, and you're aware that Mr. Franklin Jacobs was deceased, but were you aware that he was the only financial means of support for that family? That family, not only did you kill the individual, you actually killed the entire family. The wife, had never worked before. She was a housewife. She was a mother. The children didn't get an education because they had to go to work to help their mother. So basically, you ruined the entire family. And I think you need to know that because they are adamantly opposed to any relief for you simply because after that, it was a downward spiral and the family just went, had no financial means of support. I don't think the family is still emotionally, mentally, and financially affected by this crime. So why should this panel give you any relief this morning?
I think I've done everything I can and taken every opportunity to better myself with my education and the programs I've been in for drug addiction. I'm very remorseful for what I did. And if I could take it back, I would. I apologize that I hurt them and caused them so much pain and suffering. I just hope one day they can forgive me.
As I calculated, you have not even served 25% of your sentence.
Yes, sir.
And you've had an extensive criminal history dating back 25 years. Your first arrest was in 1996. And you have 9 convictions. 2 of those are felony convictions since 1996. You've been on supervision and you've been revoked at least once because you did not attend classes. You failed to make any driving improvements classes, and you failed to perform community service as ordered by the court. So what's different this time?
Now I feel like I have, been in a structured environment, and I've learned ways to live now sober through the classes. I want to do better. I want to be a better person. I want to be a good mom. I want the chance, to be a role model for her.
But you had
And I know I can do it.
You had 2 DWIs prior to this vehicular homicide. You had a chance on 2 occasions to set yourself straight, and you didn't, and you ended up with the death of an individual on your hands. And I just worry about the public safety. I worry about you behind the wheel taking pills and drinking alcohol.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Ms. Wise?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I do want to commend you for your excellent programs. As you said, I just want to state it for the record, you had over 500 hours of programs. You earned your high set in 2017, and you earned an associate's degree in 2019. What was your associate degree in?
Associate of Arts.
And what?
My minor was sociology.
Okay, all right. I just want to commend you for that. That's some good work. That really is some good work. But
I'm also enrolled in cosmetology right now.
Oh, great. I saw that when you said your work plan. I was wondering how that was going to work out, how you was going to get an associate degree and then work in okay. You like hair. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So define for me remorse in your own words. What does remorse mean? You use that word a lot. I'm just wondering, what does it mean? Define it in your own words.
Remorse means to me that I feel horrible about what happened.
Mhm.
And I've tried to empathize with the family,
Mhm.
and put myself in their shoes and try to somehow, see where they're coming from.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you for answering my
Thank
question.
you.
Warden Butte, good morning. Do you have anything to add?
Morning. Yes, just the fact of things that you've already talked about. She's very active in programming and education, and that's my spiel.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll hear now from the folks who have indicated they'd like to speak, and we'll start with Ms. Nicole. You have to unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I'm Nicole Shatania. I have known Ashley through childhood, being before addiction, during addiction, and now what I consider after. I'm the owner of the Bethesda Sober House Living. I'm a recovered addict. I'm also a third-time convicted felon, and I took very serious steps to become successful. I have watched Ashley grow, and I get emotional because I love her very much. And I know that the crime, the severity of it, I understand. But she has kept in touch with me the whole entire time, through recovery, with plans to how to be a good mother and to be successful. I do believe she deserves a chance on the street and that she has learned her lesson. I'm married to a substance abuse counselor, and I do that myself also. And I am more than willing to mentor with her and work for her. Ashley has bettered herself on a level that, unless you knew her before, I don't think anybody could understand. She's very sorry for what she's done. And I understand that a man's life was lost, and that is a tragedy. And we can't bring that back. But she does have a daughter, and that life has been affected also. And I believe that Ashley can make amends for this and be very, very successful. She also has plans to go into aesthetics, and I think she's going to do great. So that's what I have to say.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you joining us this morning. So now we'll hear from Mr. Hines.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, okay. I'll go ahead. My name is Russell. I'm the brother of Ashley, and this is her daughter, Taylor. I guess we've sat and we've talked about and looked at history and looked how things look on paper, and of course, they don't look great. But I think if you fast forward to this point, this moment, that like we've covered before, a life was lost. But the things that Ashley's done while she's been incarcerated, we talk to her on a daily basis. She's grown as a person. I just don't think that, if you go back and look at somebody's history and look at their arrest and things they've done in the past, I understand you have to look at those things, but I also understand that could hinder maybe what they've done in the present. And I think that kind of may be the case with Ashley now. I don't think just keeping someone locked up, necessarily helps a person. You know, uh, you know, just sitting back and saying, "Well, this happened, years ago when you were arrested back in '96," doesn't necessarily mean that you should continue to be locked up. Um, in my mind, I guess the things she's done while she's been incarcerated, I mean, you couldn't really ask for a better inmate. I really don't like using that word, but there's a lot of a lot of people that are locked up and incarcerated that don't take advantage of the things, and you can kind of tell that, you know, how their life is going to go when they're released. But in Ashley's case, I think that, you know, she's grown over this last 6 years, and you know, the things she's done is kind of shown, you know, what it's going to be like, you know, on her release. And so I just think that it's important for us to kind of look at, you know, the things she's done since this incident has happened. So
Thank you, sir.
yeah, thank you.
Taylor, would you like to say something to us?
Yes. So I feel like as she's been in there, she's grown so much as a person. Like she's done so much. She's taken like every opportunity she can, and I don't know. It would be really great to have my mom here. Like whenever I was younger, we were very close, and I feel like I haven't seen her in so long, and like just seeing her and hearing her voice is so great for me. And I know this isn't enough and like to convince you guys or anything, but I think she's a really great candidate for parole. Like she's done everything in her will to be better and do better. And I really think she's matured as a person. And you can always look back at somebody's past and say, oh, they've done this and done that. Like I don't think they deserve another chance because they've messed up so many times. But like Russell said, like keeping someone locked up for so long can only do so much. And what happened was a terrible thing, but I really think she's done all that she can to become a better person, and she's really become a great person. She's really done great.
All right,
As
thank
far
you.
as
Well
far
said.
as far as remorse goes for Ashley, I've spent numerous nights with her on the phone crying about the things that have happened, and you know, it was a tragedy. But you know, some people's mistakes are just a little bit bigger than others, but nonetheless, they are mistakes. And I think that, you know, sometimes things should be forgiven, and you know, I think that Ashley just, you know, I think she deserves that. So anyway,
Thank you, sir.
but thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, this is your
Yes, ma'am.
opportunity to make a statement, and I'd like for you to include whatever your sobriety plan is, and also what kind of community service work you have done there in the prison.
Well, my plans on release is to when I get out, I'm going to Oxford House. I'm going to go to my brother's first if I'm released, and then go to Oxford House. I've been there before, and it's a great place. Also, I want to further my education and get some training done to be an esthetician, other than the cosmetology. Go to AA and NA on a regular basis. I do here also. I really love that program. You know, just be around people who lift me up and not drag me down. And just be real active.
So, will you describe the community service work you've done there in the prison?
Community service work, cosmetology. We do hair for the inmates, and you know, we try to make them feel beautiful. And I really enjoy doing that.
Okay. All right. Is the board prepared to vote?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I suppose I'll vote first. You know, this is not about forgiveness. I heard that word used a while ago. This is about whether or not we believe it's safe for the community to release someone earlier than their release date. I'm not so sure about you, Ashley. You know, although I agree that you've done a lot of good things. I mean, you've got over 500 days of credit for your educational programs that you did. You have a low risk score. You've completed the pre-release. You've really pretty much done everything we ask offenders to do. And this is just my vote. It takes a unanimous vote in your case. You realize that, right? My vote would be to grant your parole after you do 9 months in a work release facility. I'm concerned about that write-up, but I do understand it was another offender, which would put you about at your parole date anyway. Your parole eligibility is not till January. I would ask for special conditions, some of which you've just mentioned, that you do AA meetings at least 3 times a week, that you do pursue your education, that you do some community service work. And I mean by that, speaking to at-risk youth, so people don't get in the same trap you were in. Share your experience. And that you wear a scram bracelet for a period of time as deemed necessary by your parole officer. That's my vote. Mr. Roche.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ms. Hines, I must commend you on the progress that you've made in the last 5.5 years. You've completed Celebrate Recovery, you've completed the other substance abuse, and you've gotten an education. And you should be commended for that. But
Thank you.
you have a very long history, 9 convictions, 2 felony convictions. You had 2 DWIs early on, and you did not do what the court ordered you to do when you were on supervision. And you ended up with a vehicular homicide on your record. And my hopes as a member of this board is to get to the individual who has a problem with drugs and alcohol before that happens. In this case, we didn't get to you soon enough. Someone lost their life. And based upon that extensive criminal history, a history of drugs and alcohol, law enforcement opposition, judicial opposition, opposition from the DA's office, and adamant opposition from the family of the victim. And I still have a belief that you might be a danger to the general public. My vote is to deny your request.
Ms. Wise?
Miss Ashley, I am pleased with what you've done, but the court gave you a 25-year sentence for a reason. And you've done well, but I am not willing to take a chance on you today. Again, I say today. What's concerning to me is that you got removed from work release. And when you had an opportunity for some freedom, and that's what happened. And the law enforcement opposition and the victim's opposition. So my vote is to deny as well. But keep doing what you're doing.
All right, Ms. Hines, you've received 1 favorable vote, 2 votes that were not favorable. So the outcome of today's proceedings is that your parole's been denied. Good luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Warden Boutte, I think that concludes our business.
Ms. Wise asked, can you define for me remorse? And her answer, I think, says it all. I try to empathize with the family, put myself in their shoes and see where they are coming from. I try to empathize with their family. Initially, when she was asked by Ms. Vernazza, what would you say to them if you could? I'm remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean for it to happen. What's strange is when we see so many of these vehicular homicide cases is what seems to be just a complete lack of empathy. a complete lack of accountability, lack of certain like humanity. This is the man that she killed. This is the man, as Mr. O'Shea said, the caregiver for the family. When she killed him, she killed the family. Why is it that she can't have emotion in her voice when she speaks about killing him? There is something wrong with her. Not just her addiction problem, but in my opinion, she actually lacks the ability to empathize for others. There's something messed up. And we see it very often. There's one thing if someone does something horrible, they get in a car and they cause this type of death, but they at least can express genuine pain, remorse, regret. They can cry or share emotion when they talk about it. There was nothing. Nothing, in my opinion. And it didn't help when she has her supporters come up. It was, so often they are surrounded by supporters that mimic their personality. It's like birds of a feather flock together is so true with these parole hearings, in many of the times. Nicole says, Nicole, I understand a man's life was lost, and that's a tragedy, but she has a daughter. A man's life was lost? What about I understand that a father, a husband, a son, he's 55 years old, was ripped from this earth because she decided to drive. And we'll go through more of the information. It was bad. Her PSI report that we'll go through too is bad. I mean, she should never have been on the road. She should have been locked up a long time ago, and it's the system that failed. Not only that, but she had no insurance. She had a suspended license. She had fake plates on her car. I've been in 2 motorcycle accidents. I was hit head on by a woman going at 50 miles an hour. But it was a genuine mistake. She wasn't, and by miracle, I was okay. In this case, she simply drove into the wrong side of traffic and slammed into him. It wasn't even an intersection. He wasn't turning. It wasn't, she was coming out of a driveway. It wasn't the typical mistakes that can happen on motorcycles when it's hard to see. No, she just went into the wrong lane of traffic and slammed into him. And this was after a truck driver saw her pull out in front of him, swerve, and hit a divider. And she kept on going. And then she ran into him. Then you have Russell. Just because you did something doesn't mean you should be locked up. Keeping them locked up doesn't do anything. And it's like, yes, keeping them locked up protects her from killing someone else, Russell. Or how about if the family still wants her locked up, she should remain locked up, Russell. This is going in sequential order of the events. So first that accident happened, then it took 2 months for her to get arrested. In a head-on collision 2 months ago in Shreveport, where she claimed the life of 55-year-old motorist. And you see that even here in the article, they say where she claimed the life, not for what she did, a life was lost for what happened, or how she said it. I'm remorseful for what happened. I didn't mean it for what happened. How do you say that? What happened? She was driving her 2003 Kia Optima. when her vehicle reportedly crossed over the center lane and struck his 1999 Suzuki motorcycle. I used to drive a Gixxer. Then here it is. The next, Shreveport gets a 25-year for wreck that killed motorist. And now that was a surprising sentence, 25 years, right? She pled guilty. You see it here. She said that she took several Klonopin tablets while reportedly driving to rehab facility, according to the Cato District Sheriff's Office. And here's the appeal. And thank you, Richard, for providing all this in sequential order as usual. But I'm skipping ahead to the appeal where they go over the PSI report. And again, this is the system failing this family. And good for the judge to finally throw the book at her, because she pled guilty. She did not expect a 25-year sentence. However, the caveat to the 25-year sentence was the opportunity for parole after serving just 4 years. So it's kind of like a sketchy 25-year sentence. But the PSI shows February 2013 guilty plea to attempted schedule. Then she pled down from 2 counts of distribution and a host of arrests involving drug use and impaired driving, October 1997. Simple possession, March 2007, simple possession, Schedule 2. But here, the misdemeanor, operating a vehicle while intoxicated. So she's a 97, she's a 2011. And then an offense against the person, November 96, 97, March 2006, and August 2010, simple battery, 2006, second degree battery, March and September 2015, domestic abuse battery, which was either null prost or their disposition cannot be found. Again, the district court was surely aware of Hines' ongoing issues with CDS and harming people. But she's such a great person. And nothing should be held against her that she did 10 years ago, right, Russell? You know, this is literally a case of someone who just kept getting away with it. We agree Hines' effort to get herself to rehab shows a certain awareness of her problem and could count in mitigation. However, getting behind the wheel after taking 4 Klonopin with Flexerol, weaving around an 18-wheeler on the inner loop, scraping her own car on a guardrail, driving on the wrong side of Linwood, and failing to see an oncoming motorcycle all diminish her commendable pursuit of treatment. I agree. It's like she appealed to saying, I was driving to rehab. And it's like, what? Thank you for like putting this in writing. You don't get brownie points when you kill a man driving to rehab. You could have waited 10 minutes, driven yourself to rehab, and then taken your poison. You could have also called a taxi. You could have called Russell. You could have called Nicole. Man, Mr. Mirabella would have loved that someone running a sober house would say, what were the words she used? She said, I consider it post-addiction phase. Mr. Mirabella would have said, okay, well, I don't like you anymore because once an addict, always an addict. Given the gravity of offense and Hines' frequent brushes with the law for similar offenses, we cannot find the district court abuses discretion for the same reasons. In the current climate seeking non-criminal avenues for treating opioid addiction, we do not find the sentence shocks the sense of justice or serves merely to inflict pain and suffering. And I wish the DA would have shown up to speak here too. By reply brief, the state correctional shows that sentences is illegally lenient. It also makes it 3 years of imprisonment without benefit instead of at least 5, although it was only 3 years. For an offender with a prior DWI conviction and amidst the court's approved substance abuse program. Both requires under LA and state. And they confirm the conviction. But here's where they again stated the facts. Shortly after 3 p.m. on August 18, 2015, Hines was driving her 2003 Kia Optima north in the inside southbound Linwood Avenue near the intersection of West 83rd. She collided head on with a Suzuki motorcycle that was riding south properly in the inside lane. Police responded to the major crash and found the cyclist, 55-year-old Franklin, lying on the ground unconscious and with massive injuries. He was taken to University Health, where doctors were unable to restore his consciousness. Several days later, they took him off life support. Hines told an officer at the scene that she did not know what happened. The motorcycle came out of nowhere and appeared in front of her car. What was I to do? She also said she was on her way to rehab and had taken 4 Klonopin, and a tranquilizer. The officer felt that her condition contributed to the accident. He also found that she had no insurance or valid driver's license and that the Kia had switched tags. A police corporal officer gave her Miranda rights, and she admitted to have taken the Klonopin in the patrol car while talking to the officer and while submitting to a blood test. Officers later talked to witnesses who had seen her driving erratically just before the accident, swerving around an 18-wheeler on the inner loop and striking a cement guardrail. Hines' toxicology report was positive not only for Klonopin and for Flexeril, but also for Xanax minor tranquilizers. Also for benzodiazepines and Xanax. Tramadol and opioid pain medication. I mean, she was on a lot of stuff. And, the list goes on. And buprenorphine, a drug for treating opioid addiction. Oh, okay. All Schedule 3s. The state charged Hines by bill of information with vehicular homicide. She initially pled not guilty, but on March 2nd, 2016, she appeared before the district court, withdrew her plea, and pled guilty as charged. There was no agreement as to sentence. See, sometimes the DAs, they play ball properly. But when it comes to a child, they don't. But at least in this case, after it was too late, after a life was taken, after people were disgusted, they did play the game correctly. But, it's in their best interest at this time to do that, isn't it? At the hearing, Hines testified that she was 36 years old, had completed 11th grade, and discussed the charge with her attorney and understood the nature of the proceedings. The court advised her of her rights, and the prosecutor gave a brief statement of facts, which Hines confirmed was true. At sentencing in January 2017, the court acknowledged letters from the victim's family members asking that Hines receive the maximum sentence. Hines apologized to the family members who were present in the courtroom. The court noted Hines' criminal history, disclosed the PSI with prior convictions for hit and run, drug offense, and DWI. Did we talk about that hit and run before? The court recognized Hines' expression of remorse, but found that she acted. You see, they recognized her expression. They didn't, it was just an expression. I don't, it's, I can imagine it wasn't much more. Maybe she was crying for herself when she said sorry, but I'm not convinced that she knows how to feel remorse for someone else. But found that she acted under the influence of narcotics and the crime was serious. The court sentenced her to 25 years of hard labor within 3 years without parole, suspension of sentence. And maybe that's the maximum for legislation allowed for this type of thing. Keep in mind, and the point is, she got work release and got fired from it. Like, maybe Miss Renazza only said parole because she knew others would deny her. I don't know, but there is nothing that would say parole on this case, and it just disgusts me. There are certain people that just don't seem to have redeeming factors, and I think she's one of them. And I don't know. It's another thing. It's funny. I just got my life insurance. I just got a letter. I need to re-up it. And seeing this case reminded me to go make sure I do that. And I know it becomes more and more and more expensive as you get older. And sometimes people can't afford it. But it is, when you see cases like this, it reminds one, especially if you're riding a motorcycle, how important it is. I'm lucky to be alive. Like I said, I've been in 2 accidents. One on a bridge in middle of rush hour. I could have flown off the bridge. I could have been run over, and another where it was a head-on collision, and it's terrifying. But when a woman just jumps out, goes into your lane because she decided to get all hopped up, and there's nothing you can do about it. She's a danger. It's just a terrifying thing to think about, but there you have it. And with that, I'll let you go.